Picture this. You're walking through the street, minding your own business. Out of nowhere, a stranger throws an insult your way. Maybe it's about how you look, how you walk, or something completely random. Most people, in that moment, snap. They spin around, shout back, or maybe even throw hands. They think they're defending themselves, but the truth? They've already lost. Why? Because the very act of reacting means the other person just controlled you. They pressed a button, and you danced. They pulled the strings, and you jumped like a puppet. And even if you win the fight, you've still lost your power, because your emotions were hijacked by someone unworthy of your attention. Machiavelli said, "He who lets himself be moved by insults is already defeated." And he was right. But here's the twist. Most people don't understand the deeper layer. Disrespect is not a rare accident. It is a constant law of human interaction. People will mock you, test you, and try to belittle you for one simple reason. It's in their nature. It's how weak people feel strong, how insecure people grasp for a little power. So instead of being surprised when it happens, you should expect it. When you expect disrespect, it no longer shocks you. It no longer knocks you off balance. You see it for what it truly is, a desperate attempt to pull you down to their level. Imagine a king walking through his kingdom. A drunk peasant throws mud at him. Does the king leap into the dirt and wrestle the fool? No. He keeps walking. Why? Because the act of lowering himself to the peasant's level would cost him more than the mud ever could. This is the first law of being unbothered. Expect disrespect. Don't hope the world will be kind. Don't wish for people to always treat you with honor. That's not reality. The reality is this. You will be tested constantly. And when you expect it, when you're ready for it, you gain something that most people never have: calm dominance. Instead of reacting, you observe. Instead of exploding, you smirk. Instead of giving your enemy the satisfaction of a reaction, you deny them their victory. Because here's the truth. Disrespect only hurts when you think you're above it. When you accept it as part of the game, it loses its sting. It becomes nothing more than background noise. So from this day on, repeat this to yourself. Disrespect is inevitable. My reaction is optional, and my silence is my power. That's the first law. But if you stop here, you'll only have awareness. Next, we go deeper into silence itself. Because silence isn't just absence of words, it's a weapon. And once you learn to use it, you'll never see communication the same way again. If disrespect is the test, then silence is the answer. Most people think silence is weakness. They think if you don't defend yourself, if you don't argue back, you've lost. But the opposite is true. Silence is one of the strongest weapons you will ever wield. Think about this. When someone insults you, what do they want? They want your reaction. They want proof they've gotten under your skin. The moment you snap, argue, or fight back, you've given them what they wanted. They've won. But when you say nothing, when you stand there calm, unfazed, with no reaction, you create something much more powerful: uncertainty. Uncertainty is terrifying. Humans hate the unknown. When you stay silent, people start thinking, why isn't he reacting? Did I fail to get to him? Is he stronger than me? Does he know something I don't? Suddenly, the one who attacked you begins to spiral, not you. Machiavelli understood this. He knew that the fewer words you speak, the more powerful you appear. Why? Because words are like currency. When you spend them carelessly, they lose their value. But when you ration them, when you use them rarely, every word you do speak carries weight. Picture two leaders. One is loud, constantly speaking, always defending himself. The other says almost nothing, speaking only when necessary. Who feels more powerful? Always the silent one. Because silence forces people to lean in. It creates gravity. Even in war, silence is a weapon. Armies use it to intimidate. Imagine facing an opponent who doesn't shout, doesn't argue, doesn't waste breath. They just stare at you, calm and unreadable. That is far scarier than someone who explodes with anger. But here's where most people fail. Silence isn't just about keeping your mouth closed. It's about keeping your face, your body, and your energy still. If you're silent, but your face betrays you, rolling your eyes, shaking your head, you've already lost. True silence means you give them nothing. Not a word, not a twitch, not a sign that they matter. And here's the secret. Silence not only protects you, It puts the burden on others. When you don't respond, the other person feels compelled to fill the space. They keep talking. They overexplain. They expose themselves. And in that moment, silence becomes a mirror that reveals the truth. So remember this. Words are expensive. Silence is priceless. This is the second law. Don't just hear it, practice it. The next time someone tries to bait you, stay still. Say nothing. Watch their power crumble in the silence you control. But silence alone isn't enough. Next, we go even deeper, because what use is silence if inside you're boiling with rage? The third law is about mastering your emotions. Because when you own your emotions, you become unstoppable. If silence is your shield, then emotional control is your sword. Here's the brutal truth. The moment someone can control your emotions, they control you. And most people, they are slaves to their emotions. Anger, jealousy, desperation, even excitement. They think emotions are strength, but emotions are the strings that make you a puppet. Let me show you how. Have you ever seen someone in an argument completely lose it? They raise their voice, their face turns red, they start throwing words they can't take back. In their head, they're winning the fight. But in reality, they've just revealed everything. What triggers them, what scares them, what they truly care about. Their opponent is collecting information the entire time. Machiavelli understood this. He said that a man who cannot master himself cannot master anything else. And that's the truth. If you can't even control your own emotions, how can you expect to control situations, people, or outcomes? Think of anger. When you explode in anger, you're broadcasting your weakness. You're showing that someone else owns you. They pressed a button, and you reacted exactly as they predicted. You became predictable, and predictable people are easy to manipulate. Now think of desperation. How many people beg for love, beg for approval, beg for opportunities? They talk too much, give too much, sacrifice too much, because their emotions run them. And what happens? The world loses respect for them. Desperation is repulsive. Even excitement can betray you. Imagine sealing a deal, but your face lights up too much. Now the other side knows you want it badly, and they'll squeeze you for more. Your joy gave them leverage. The most dangerous battlefield in the world is not out there. It's in here. Your own mind. That's why the most powerful people in history always carried themselves with calm, collected composure. Julius Caesar? Never raised his voice. Napoleon? Stoic in the face of insults. Modern CEOs, ruthless negotiators, even legendary athletes. You'll notice the same pattern. They control their emotions like a weapon. But here's the twist. Controlling your emotions doesn't mean you don't feel them. It means you feel them privately, then respond strategically. Anger can fuel discipline. Fear can sharpen awareness. Excitement can push effort. But none of these emotions should ever be seen raw by your enemies. Because once people know how you truly feel, they own the map to your destruction. So here's the rule. Never let your anger speak for you. Never let desperation show on your face. Never let excitement reveal your intentions. Be calm. Be still. Be unreadable. Because the one who controls their emotions controls the game. And speaking of games, there's another law you must master. One that most people fall victim to without even realizing it. Next, we'll expose how your own words, your need to talk, to confess, to share, becomes the biggest weapon your enemies use against you. Imagine this. Someone throws an insult at you in front of a crowd. Your instinct? You rush to defend yourself. You explain. You justify. You scramble to prove your worth. And in that moment, you've already lost. Because here's the secret most people never realize. The more you defend, the weaker you look. Think about it. If someone accuses you of something and you start talking too much, people assume there's truth behind it. Even if you're innocent, your frantic words plant seeds of doubt. But the one who stays calm, who says little, who refuses to play defense, that's the one who looks powerful. Machiavelli warned about this 500 years ago. He who defends too much admits weakness. And he was right. Look at history. The most dangerous leaders, the most cunning rulers, the most respected figures rarely wasted time explaining themselves. They didn't scramble to prove their honor or justify their choices. They spoke less. And because they spoke less, their words carried weight. Here's the brutal truth. When you defend, you're playing by someone else's rules. They set the frame of the conversation. They put you in the box, and you willingly step inside. Example, someone says, "You're not smart enough for this." The weak man replies, "Yes, I am. I studied, I worked, And just like that, he's in the trap. The strong man? He smiles, shrugs, or simply says, "That's your opinion." He doesn't defend. He doesn't explain. He doesn't give the attacker the satisfaction of knowing they've touched a nerve. Because here's the power move: control the frame. Never let others dictate the conversation. When they attack, don't defend. Reframe, redirect, shrink their words until they sound ridiculous. And sometimes the best move? A laugh. A single laugh that says, "I don't take you seriously." It's mysterious. It's unsettling. It flips the power dynamic instantly. Watch politicians, negotiators, even chess masters. The weak ones argue endlessly, defending every detail. The powerful ones, they stay calm, they stay vague, they stay untouchable. This is how you guard your words. By refusing to hand over your power with explanations. By letting silence or simplicity work for you. By remembering, the lion doesn't explain himself to the sheep. From today forward, every time you feel that urge to defend, stop. Ask yourself, do I really need to answer? Or is my calm silence louder than any excuse? And here's the beauty. When you master this, people stop questioning you altogether. They sense that no matter what they say, you won't budge, you won't break, and you won't dance to their tune. Because real power doesn't defend. Real power doesn't explain. Real power sets the frame. Now, what happens when you remove people's ability to control you through opinions? Not just insults, but also praise. That's even deeper. And next, we'll explore how to detach from both criticism and compliments, and why depending on praise is just as dangerous as being destroyed by hate. Here's a truth that will rattle you. Most people know they shouldn't care too much about insults, criticism, or mockery. But almost no one realizes the opposite is just as dangerous. Praise, compliments, approval. The warm glow of validation is just another chain around your neck. Think about it. If you need people to tell you you're smart, strong, or talented in order to believe it, then you've already handed them the keys to your self-worth. And the same crowd that praises you today will destroy you tomorrow if it suits them. Machiavelli understood this dual trap. He knew that dependence on other people's words, whether positive or negative, makes you fragile. And fragility is weakness. Here's the twist most people never see. Praise and criticism are two sides of the same coin. If you hunger for one, you'll always fear the other. Imagine a performer who thrives only when the crowd cheers. The moment the applause fades, he crumbles. Now imagine the master, who doesn't live for applause, who doesn't shatter from boos, who builds his empire with or without an audience. Who's stronger? Who's untouchable? Let's bring this closer to home. How many times have you checked the likes on your posts? How many times have you fished for compliments after doing something good? How many times have you relied on others to tell you that you're good enough? That's not power. That's dependency. That's a leash, and you're holding the other end in someone else's hand. But here's the liberation: detachment. Detachment doesn't mean ignoring everything. It means you evaluate words, not for how they make you feel, but for how useful they are. Criticism, does it help you grow? Good. Take the lesson. If not, discard it. Praise, does it reveal you're on the right track? Great. Appreciate it briefly, but never need it. Neither should touch your core. Neither should decide your value. The master's foundation is internal: values, discipline, goals, vision. These don't rise and fall with applause. They don't collapse when mocked. They remain steady, unshakable. Machiavelli himself once said, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." In other words, be careful whose voices you allow to matter. A few trusted allies, wise, proven, loyal, yes. But the crowd? The noise? Forget it. Because once you stop depending on external validation, something remarkable happens. You become free. Free from fear of judgment. Free from desperation for approval. Free from manipulation. Because manipulators feed on your hunger for acceptance. This is why the strongest men and women in history always looked like they didn't care what the masses thought. Caesar, Napoleon, even modern leaders. Their power came from being guided by their vision, not the fleeting opinions of the crowd. So here's your challenge. For 1 week, try living without validation. Don't check likes. Don't fish for compliments. Don't ask people what they think of your work. Just do the work, for yourself, for your mission. Watch how uncomfortable it feels at first. Then watch the freedom seep in. Because the moment you stop chasing opinions, you stop being chained by them. And that's when you become dangerous. Now, this detachment sets up the next law, because once you're no longer controlled by praise or criticism, you can finally train your own mind to respond only to your chosen incentives. And next, we'll explore how to rewire your brain with rewards and punishments, so calmness becomes automatic and reaction becomes impossible. Here's the brutal truth. If you don't train your mind, the world will. And the world doesn't train you to be strong. It trains you to be obedient. Think about it. From childhood, we're conditioned like dogs. Sit, obey, smile, get a gold star. Step out of line. Punishment. This system builds one thing: dependence. We learn to chase rewards from others instead of building strength within ourselves. But here's the Machiavellian twist. You can flip the system. You can become your own trainer, your own ruler. And when you do, you become immune to external manipulation. Step 1. Reward yourself strategically. Most people reward themselves emotionally. They eat junk food after a stressful day. They scroll social media when bored. They give themselves comfort whenever life feels hard. But this creates weakness. Because the brain learns, struggle equals quick dopamine. Pain equals escape. Instead, you flip it. You reward yourself only for strength. Did you keep your mouth shut when someone tried to provoke you? Reward yourself. Did you remain calm under pressure? Reward yourself. Did you resist the urge to overshare? Reward yourself. Every time you reinforce discipline with a small, controlled reward, you're programming your brain to associate power with pleasure. Step 2. Punish weakness privately. This part shocks people, but it's critical. When you slip, when you overshare, when you lash out emotionally, you must impose a private consequence. Not self-hatred, not shame. A consequence. Overshared a secret? Maybe you deny yourself a comfort for a week. Lost your temper? Add an extra hour of physical training tomorrow. Fell into the trap of validation seeking? Cut off a distraction you love for 24 hours. This isn't cruelty. It's correction. The same way a general disciplines soldiers, not to harm them, but to forge them into an unbreakable force. Your mind must learn. Weakness has a cost. Strength has a reward. Step 3. Rehearse pressure before it hits. Soldiers don't wait for war to practice shooting. They drill constantly, so when the real moment comes, they react automatically. You need the same with your words. Practice silence. Practice composure. Practice patience. For example, when someone asks you a question, pause for 3 seconds before answering. Or when someone insults you, rehearse a blank stare instead of a reaction. When tempted to gossip, practice smiling and saying, "Interesting," then walk away. Do this until it becomes instinct, until calmness feels as natural as breathing. Step 4. Measure progress, not perfection. Here's what most people get wrong. They try to never slip again. Impossible. You're human. You will slip. But the Machiavellian mind tracks improvement, not perfection. Last year you exploded in anger 5 times a week. Now it's once a week. That's progress. Last month you overshared every day. This week, you caught yourself 3 times. That's progress. The brain doesn't need you to be flawless. It needs you to be consistent. When you combine these 4 steps, strategic rewards, private punishments, rehearsal under pressure, and tracking progress, you create something few people ever achieve: mental sovereignty. Now, instead of the world controlling you, you control yourself. Instead of being predictable, you become unreadable. Instead of being easy to manipulate, you become immune. And this immunity sets the stage for the next law, because once you've mastered yourself, the game shifts. It's no longer about defense. It's about offense. Next, we'll explore how to use silence, unpredictability, and scarcity to not just protect your power, but to amplify it, so people start chasing your words instead of you chasing theirs. When most people think of weapons, they imagine swords, guns, or armies. But the most devastating weapons in power aren't physical, they're psychological. And the three deadliest are silence, unpredictability, and scarcity. Let's break them down like a Machiavellian arsenal. Weapon 1. Silence, the dagger. Silence is small, sharp, and lethal when used at the right moment. Most people can't tolerate silence. They rush to fill it with nervous chatter, explanations, justifications. In their desperation, they reveal secrets. They expose weaknesses. They bleed information. But the master knows. Silence makes others uncomfortable. Silence forces people to reveal more. Silence turns the spotlight from you onto them. Use silence after a question, after an insult, after someone overshares. Watch how they scramble to explain, justify, or apologize. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting their own insecurity back at them. Silence cuts deeper than words ever could. Weapon 2. Unpredictability, the blade that can't be read. Predictable people are controllable people. If your enemy knows exactly how you'll react, they can plan 10 moves ahead. But when you're unpredictable, you're dangerous. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must sometimes act against kindness, against faith, against humanity, if survival demands it. Translation: don't let anyone box you in. Sometimes you smile when they expect anger. Sometimes you walk away when they expect to fight. Sometimes you strike when they expected mercy. Unpredictability keeps everyone cautious. They tread lightly around you, never certain which version of you they'll face. That uncertainty itself becomes your shield. Weapon 3. Scarcity, the sword of value. Abundance lowers value. Scarcity creates demand. If you're always available, always talking, always accessible, you become cheap. Familiarity breeds contempt. But when you limit access, when your words are rare, when your presence is not guaranteed, you transform into something people chase. Think about it. The rare diamond is precious. The common stone is ignored. Your time, your energy, your attention, these are your diamonds. Give them sparingly, and people will treat them like treasure. The arsenal combined. Now imagine these weapons together. You speak less, silence. You act in ways no one can predict, unpredictability. And you become harder to access, scarcity. The result? You create mystery. And mystery is power. Because people fear what they don't fully understand. They respect what they can't fully control. And they chase what they can't easily have. The master doesn't run after attention. The master makes attention chase him. And here's the secret. Once you've mastered these weapons, you stop being just another player in the game. You become the one others play around. But this leads us to the next law, the most dangerous of all. Because once you hold silence, unpredictability, and scarcity, people will begin to test your boundaries. And next, we'll uncover the law of consequences. Why respect only exists when crossing you carries a cost, and how to enforce it without ever lifting your voice. Imagine this. Someone insults you, mocks you, or tries to provoke a reaction. Most people, they let that energy consume them. Anger rises, frustration grows, and before they know it, they've wasted hours or even days stewing over something that doesn't even matter. But Machiavelli understood a secret most people never learn. Every attack, every insult, every attempt to pull you down contains energy, and you can use it as fuel. Think about it. Someone says, "You'll never succeed at that job." Most people either argue, get defensive, or feel crushed. But what if instead of reacting, you used that energy to train harder, learn more, improve your skills? What if that negative emotion became the driving force behind your growth? That's exactly what redirecting energy is. Here's the difference. The ordinary person wastes energy fighting battles that don't matter. The master converts it into progress, power, and momentum. Why this works? When you redirect negative energy instead of reacting, 3 things happen. 1. You gain control of your emotions. No one else dictates how you feel. 2. You turn attacks into progress. Every insult becomes a reminder to get stronger. 3. You frustrate manipulators. People who try to provoke you expect a reaction. When you don't give them one, it disarms them and puts you in control. Think about someone in your life who always seems unshakable. Odds are, they've mastered this. They don't waste time reacting to petty attacks. They use everything as fuel to become better, stronger, and untouchable. How to practice redirecting energy. This isn't theoretical, it's practical. Start small. 1. Identify the energy. Recognize when someone's words or actions trigger a strong emotion. 2. Decide where to redirect it. That energy can go into learning a new skill, training your body, building a project or working toward a goal. 3. Act immediately. Don't just feel it, use it. Write it down, train, work, create. Convert frustration into action. For example, someone mocks your appearance. Instead of getting defensive, you go to the gym, improve your posture, your strength, your confidence. They tried to tear you down, but you turn it into personal power. Or someone doubts your intelligence. You study harder, master new knowledge, and let your results speak louder than their insults ever could. The mental shift you need. Most people see attacks as setbacks. Masters see them as opportunities. Every insult contains information, what people think might hurt you. The question is, will you waste it, or will you use it? Redirecting energy isn't just about staying calm. It's about using every attempt to bother you as a tool for your growth. Victims let attacks weaken them. Victors let attacks make them stronger. Daily practice. Try this for 1 week. Every time someone frustrates, insults, or tries to provoke you, pause. Ask yourself, how can I turn this energy into something that benefits me? Take one concrete action immediately. Even small actions count. The more you practice, the more automatic this becomes. By the end of the week, you'll notice something powerful. You stop wasting energy on petty battles, and you start channeling it into results. You start becoming untouchable in ways most people don't even notice, but everyone respects. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I convert attacks into power. Remember, the world will always throw sparks at you. Most will burn themselves out. You take those sparks and forge them into fuel for your own growth. This is how the untouchable become unstoppable. Imagine this. Someone wrongs you. Maybe it's a betrayal. Maybe it's an insult. Maybe someone takes credit for your hard work. What's your first instinct? Most people think, fight back immediately. Revenge. Prove yourself. Make them pay. But Machiavelli understood something most people never do. Not every battle is worth fighting. There's a third path between blind forgiveness and reckless vengeance, and that's cold calculation. Why cold calculation matters? Here's the truth. Reacting emotionally to every slight costs time, energy, and focus. You might win a small battle, but you risk losing the war, your goals, your peace of mind, your long-term progress. Cold calculation is about choosing your battles strategically. It's about asking, will fighting this advance my goals? Or will it protect my reputation? Will it teach a lesson or prevent future attacks? If the answer is yes, you act, but on your terms, with a plan, when you have the advantage. If the answer is no, you let it go completely. No anger, no regret, no wasted energy. How masters think differently. Most people let pride guide their actions. They fight because they feel they should, not because it benefits them. But pride is expensive. It makes you predictable. It blinds you. Masters, on the other hand, measure every action like a chess move. Every response is intentional. Every silence, every choice to act, every decision to walk away is calculated to protect their power. Imagine someone insults your work. Instead of lashing out, you pause. You think, will responding improve my results? Will it teach them something meaningful? Or will it just waste my time? Most people react immediately. You wait. You respond strategically or don't respond at all. That's cold calculation in action. How to practice cold calculation. 1. Pause before acting. Let emotions settle, even if it's just a few seconds. 2. Analyze the situation objectively. Ask, what is the goal here? What is worth my energy? 3. Choose the most effective action or inaction. Sometimes the most powerful move is silence. Sometimes it's a carefully timed response. Over time, this trains your mind to act like a master, not a reactive person. People start noticing. They realize you're unpredictable, deliberate, and impossible to manipulate. Daily exercise. Whenever someone wrongs you, pause and write down your options. Ask yourself, what will benefit me most in the long run? Choose the option that maximizes your power, peace, or progress, not your ego. After a week, you'll notice something remarkable. You no longer feel drained by petty attacks. You're focused on what matters, and people start realizing they can't control you. You're untouchable, not because you fight everything, but because you only fight the battles that truly matter. Remember, the world is full of provocations. Most people waste their lives reacting emotionally. You calculate. You preserve your energy. You strike only when it benefits you, and you rise above all distractions. Imagine this. People can only hurt you when they find a crack in your armor, when they discover something you care about so deeply that losing it would shake your world. That's how most people live, constantly vulnerable, constantly reactive. But Machiavelli understood a truth almost no one practices. True power comes from detachment. Not apathy, not indifference for the sake of arrogance, but detachment that preserves your peace and freedom while still fully engaging with life. Why detachment is ultimate power. Think about the most untouchable person you know. It's rarely someone who avoids feelings. It's someone whose emotions are their own, not tools for manipulation by others. When you detach, criticism no longer shatters your confidence. Praise no longer inflates your ego. Insults bounce off you like water off stone. You become mentally untouchable, and in that state, others realize you cannot be controlled, provoked, or manipulated. You've reached the rarest form of power, inner sovereignty. How to master detachment. 1. Value outcomes, not opinions. Focus on results that matter to you, not what people think of you. 2. Invest, don't depend. Care about people, goals, and projects, but don't tie your self-worth to them. 3. Observe, don't react. Notice provocations, but treat them as irrelevant unless they serve your strategy. Detachment doesn't mean you don't feel. It means your feelings don't dictate your actions. Your energy is reserved for what truly advances you. Practical exercise. For 1 week, identify one situation where you usually react emotionally. Instead, pause. Step back. Treat it as neutral data, not a personal attack. Observe how much mental energy you save. Observe how others start underestimating your calmness, and how that gives you an advantage. Over time, detachment becomes your default, and that is when the ultimate transformation occurs. The grand finale. Imagine walking through life untouchable. Criticism rolls off you. Insults mean nothing. Provocations excite no fear, no anger, no panic. You are untouchable, strategic, and in control. Combine all laws we've explored. Expect disrespect, master silence, control emotions, dominate the frame, detach from opinions, reward control, wield indifference, redirect energy, calculate coldly, and now detachment. And what you have is a mind unbreakable, a presence untouchable, and a life fully yours. People will try to shake you, provoke you, pull you into chaos. They will fail every time. Why? Because you've learned what most never will. The real battle isn't against others, it's against your own reactions. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. I am untouchable. I am unshakable. I am sovereign. From this moment forward, remember, the weak react, the emotional succumb, the untrained fall prey. But you respond. You rise. You move through the world untouchable, unstoppable, and free. This isn't just knowledge. This is a weapon, a guide, a code. Practice it, live it, and watch as your life transforms. Because mastery isn't about controlling others, it's about controlling yourself. And that, my friend, is the ultimate power.